Hello and welcome back to Two Girls Without Cancer. Once again, I am just Becky without Ashley. She's still off, but that's okay. We've got this thing handled. This is going to be me and my amazing guest, Danielle, today. I cannot wait to introduce you to her. I can't even believe how much this lady does. She is a mental health counselor. She's been in practice for like 15 years doing that. She's an author, a president of a wellness consulting company. She's a professor, an owner of a clothing company, a yoga teacher. Like I can't even do one thing, honestly, without getting distracted. So I cannot wait to hear everything that Danielle does, and I can't wait to share it with everybody else. So welcome, Danielle, to our
Awesome.
show.
Great. Thank you, Becky. Thanks for that great introduction. You're so funny. You said about getting distracted. And I think that's what keeps
Literally.
me going is because
Okay.
my mind's always going like, ooh, what can I get involved with now? How can I spread awareness? How can I be part of my community? So I use those distractions that I create things from whatever distraction I've landed on that day.
I love it. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking to that idea is not my
Okay.
strong suit. A lot of good thoughts and not a lot of follow through. So,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we're on season 2 of this podcast, is like
Absolutely.
growth. It's growth for me. And I can't speak for Ashley. I didn't know her before we got sick. So, I don't know
Mm.
what a pre-sick person looks like,
Right. Right.
comparatively,
Mm-hmm.
but I heard she was quite the hustler back in the day. So she probably would have followed through. But me, no, I have a lot of unfinished tasks around
Mm-hmm.
the house,
Right.
a lot of ambition. Okay, so first off, you're amazing. Like,
Thank you.
as I read your bio, I've read it like 6 times now. And every time I'm like, how? How does she do it? How do you handle it all?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know, you should have like a movie after you.
Oh,
Like,
you're
well,
so
I think there
sweet.
was a movie, like Sarah Jessica Parker was in a movie called like How Does She Do It?
Oh,
Like, that's how I feel right now.
thank you. Thank you. Um,
So I guess tell everybody first off, like who you are
yeah.
and all of these amazing things that you do.
So, so I'm Danielle. As Becky said, I'm actually coming to you guys from Buffalo, New York. I hate to tell you that's snowing here today. So April in
Mm,
Buffalo is not, you know, spring
I
here
get
yet,
it.
but you
I get
guys,
it.
you get it from
We
where
got a
you're from.
huge dumping of snow about 2 weeks ago, week and a half. We had probably had a foot and a half of snow, and it was crazy. It's gone again,
Oh
but
wow,
like
yeah,
I'm in a sundress today. I
yeah.
could be in snowsuit tomorrow. Who
You
knows?
look like you're somewhere tropical with the roses in the
Ah, yes.
background. Your hair looks beautiful.
Make it till you make it. This is a
Yeah, exactly.
wig.
Yeah,
This is a background.
well,
So, it's pretty gray outside.
it works though. It works.
Yeah,
So,
it works.
so as you mentioned, I'm a licensed mental health counselor. So I'm in private practice. I'm in my office right now, where I see clients through one-on-one therapy,
Hmm.
obviously, and I love that. But my kind of passion for wellness really started way back in the day in undergraduate school, where I created a major called psychological and physical health and well-being. It was
Mm.
in the 90s. So it was a long time ago, before wellness was like a thing.
Yeah,
Because there's
really.
something in me that says I want to do prevention medicine. I don't want to do like people are sick and I want to treat them. I really want to get
Right.
ahead of it. I want to be more
Yeah.
wellness focused. And then my path kind of has been kind of all over the place. I did lots of different things. I ended up going back to school to be a teacher originally, to be a
Hmm.
health teacher, thinking that would be a great way to educate people with prevention of illness and
Hmm.
prevention of struggles, if possible. And I was coaching 3 sports. I was a big athlete growing up and in college, and so I was coaching soccer, ice hockey, and lacrosse.
Wow.
And then I said my role as a sports coach and teacher really got me into becoming a therapist. A lot of my
Hmm.
athletes would come talk to me about their
Right.
stuff because you spend so much time with your athletes. And from there, I was like, I should go back to school to become a therapist. So I went back to school to become a therapist. And then through that role of being a therapist, I was getting asked to do a lot of speaking engagements in my community. And I said, well, why don't I make this a thing? So then that's where like the wellness consulting company came
Hmm.
in. And then I'm in the community doing webinars all over the country, doing things to speak about
Wow.
mental health in schools and mental health in corporations and then with athletic teams. And then the funny thing is, I was making sweatshirts in my living room with a cricket. Do you know what a cricket
Hmm.
is? Okay.
Yes, I have one. Yes.
Okay. So I was making sweatshirts that, said like mental health matters, like whatever. And
Hmm.
people kept saying, can I buy a sweatshirt? I was like, sure. So I ended up creating a Etsy store. But my company was called D&G Wellness. And so it didn't take long before Dolce & Gabbana, the high end
Yes.
Italian, shut me down because I was using
Of
D&G
course.
Wellness, and I'm like, I'm making these in my living room. I've sold like 10, right? Like I was
Right.
like, and so at that point I had to decide what did I want to do. And so
Yeah.
I did pivot, and then I created Buffalo Believe, which is my clothing company that's mental health and wellness related and also celebrates the city of Buffalo. So I pivoted to create something a little bit different so I didn't get sued by Dolce and Gabbana, right?
Of
Because
course,
I'm
yes.
not gonna win that, beat them in court,
Their
right?
lawyers are probably better than your lawyers.
Yeah, just a little bit. And
Yeah.
so then that kind of created the wellness clothing company, which is online. People can shop there, and we always make a donation to a mental health organization
Oh, amazing.
with each purchase. So there's anything that things that are sports related for our athletes and mental health, but just things Our most latest one that says "Be cool, be kind." Choose love, just some positivity, and really just to kind of
Hmm.
we need more love in this world and more positivity. So if we can do it through clothing, I love clothes. Why not?
Yeah,
So
why not?
why not? So, it's been fun to kind of do like a 360 of wellness. If it's
Mhm.
teaching at the university here at UB, at the University of Buffalo, I teach a couple of classes. If it's being one on one in therapy with a client, if it's going out in the community, working with schools or corporations or athletic teams around this, if it's creating fashion that's going to promote mental health and wellness, I just love it. It's just really it's always kind of been something I've been interested in, my passion, and just over the years, how it's kind of morphed depending on
Mhm.
what's going on. And typically if I see like a hole, I'll call like, hey, we need something here. Then I try to be creative to create something to like fill that hole.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like I said, where do you find the time? I mean,
yeah,
you can obviously tell that you're very, very passionate about
yeah,
this. And I
mm-hmm.
think that's probably the driving force
Yes,
behind all of it. Yeah, I'm
mm-hmm.
sure to you, like you don't feel like you've taken on too much. If
Mm-hmm.
anything, it's like, how can I help people more?
Yes,
Right? Like,
exactly.
what else can I do to help people?
Yeah. Well, I laughed though, Becky, because on my like vision board is a podcast, and I
Okay.
haven't started. I bought the microphones. I got but I haven't done it yet. And so that's why I just love being guests now to get to learn from the people who are doing this. So I give you guys
Yes.
so much credit to say like, hey, you had this idea, you guys teamed
Yeah.
up, you're doing second season, like well done, girl, right? That's
Okay.
amazing because even though I'm doing a lot of things in my world, this something you're doing is on my vision board of like what I would like for the next year or something, in the future to create.
Yeah, do it. It's fun. I mean, obviously not every podcast gets picked up and
Yeah, yeah.
we don't all turn into Joe Rogan, like let's
Right.
put it that way, or Crime Junkie or whomever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for Ashley and I, we found that it was such a healing
Yeah.
thing for us. So we had both just very recently had found out, when we started the show, we both recently found out that we were in remission, both of us. And
Yay.
yeah, and so, we were still at home, still off
Mm-hmm.
work, and it was like, let's talk about this because a lot of people were reaching out to find out our story. What did
Mm-hmm.
we do? How are you, all the things, right? And it was like, let's talk about it. And
Yep.
so for, season one, we really did talk a lot just between her and I, things that were affecting us, different things that we were going through, some physiological, some mental,
Yep.
a lot
Yeah.
mental, honestly, because
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
with any sort of illness or trauma, there's like a lot of emotions that go with
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, so there was a lot of that in
Yeah.
our first season. And then this season, we really wanted to talk to experts in their fields
Mm-hmm.
to see like how else they could help people and support
Yep.
other people because not everyone can relate to cancer,
Right.
right? Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone can relate to 38-year-old women, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
What they can relate to is mental health,
Yep.
gut
Yep. Yep.
issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Eating,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
weight,
Yep. Yep.
exercise, things like
Yep.
that. So things that Ashley and I are all very passionate about as well, kind of morphed into this second season. So,
Mm-hmm.
Danielle, you and I had been kind of talking back and forth for a while. We've had to postpone the show a few times
Yeah.
now. So it's great that I'm finally getting this chance to talk to you so that our listeners can hear about the
Mm-hmm.
amazing impact that you have
Oh,
in your
thank you.
community. And I would imagine online also.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's great. I think just like you said, like the power of communication, right? The power of talking, sharing stories is very,
Hmm.
very healing. It's kind of even what
Yes.
happens in therapy. It's like people say,
Yes.
well, you just talk to people. I'm like, well, it's a little bit more
Yeah,
than just talking to people as a
exactly.
therapist, but I think
Yeah.
there is some like spending time talking about yourself, reflecting, and knowing that you're not alone. Like I love the
Yeah.
idea of like you guys sharing your stories too, of like people go through traumas, go through hard things in life, and it's so easy to say, well, I'm the only one. Nobody else will get this.
Mhm.
Nobody will else understand what I'm going through. But the reality is, there are other people. And like when we can
Mhm.
find other people and say we're not alone, we can offer them compassion, offer ourselves self-compassion, right? This idea of like we're in this together. When I think about wellness, I think about kind of the six dimensions. And one of those dimensions is social wellness. And like,
Mhm.
even if you are a self-proclaimed introvert or quiet person, that's fine. We still need that social being, social connection to really
Yes.
complete our whole wellness, like all of those dimensions of wellness.
Totally. We actually did an episode of that last season
Mhm.
talking about the different things that you need holistically to
Yeah.
heal. It's not just, drink a green juice and,
Hmm.
breathe. Like
Yeah.
obviously those are part of it or they
Of
can be
course.
part of it.
Yep.
But yeah, like that like that social time
Yeah.
or also even like social acceptance,
Yeah.
like because you can feel very isolated. So people who have jobs that they hate
Yep.
are probably pretty miserable because you want to feel accepted. I think it's human nature to
Hmm.
just want to be loved and
Yeah.
appreciated, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you bring up kind of like the work environment. So part of my company, we do go in and work with corporate companies about mental health and wellness, and
Mm,
it's they say, well, why should we invest in this? And I was like, well, we know research tells us that when an employer feels seen and heard, like and that you're taking care of them, like they're going to work harder for you. You're actually going to reduce your bottom line of sick days, if it's mental health days or physical sickness days, or like lack of productivity, right? There's things like the younger, I don't know what generation is, like people just entering the workforce will say, I'd rather take a lower salary to work for a company that I know that care about me. I know this company is going to see me, hear me, value me as an individual. I'd rather take that job than a job where I'm just a number and like they don't
mhm.
care about us.
That's kind of what I'm feeling right now. I'm not a what is it, Gen
I know
Zs
Z, yeah,
who are like
whatever.
a work smarter, not harder
Yeah.
kind of generation, which
Mhm.
good on you.
Right.
I fall in that millennial crowd, but
Yeah.
like I don't know, as I come to the end of like being a sick person and have to
Yep.
re-enter the
Mhm.
workforce, it's like I don't want to work at a place where nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like nobody
Mhm.
cares that I just spent 2 years fighting for my life,
Right.
and
Mhm.
that's honestly how I feel. And
Yeah.
so it's like I would rather take a pay cut. I have
Yep.
10 years in my field in management, and it's like
Mhm.
I would rather honestly go be a waitress somewhere
Yep.
if it meant that like somebody I get to talk to appreciates the
Yeah.
work I did or having that conversation with
Yep.
me or having and it's a crazy jump back. I'm not saying anything against waitresses at all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually loved serving back in university. I loved it.
Yeah.
Um, but you go for however many years to build your way up in the
Yep.
corporate ladder
Mhm.
just to have some sort of trauma knock you back down. And it
Mhm.
really puts perspective, like your whole life goes into
Yep.
perspective. Like, do I really want to work in that corporate grind?
Yep.
Or actually, maybe I want to help people, or maybe I just want to have
Mhm.
conversations with people, or maybe I just
Yep.
want to be social again. So,
Mhm. And
yeah, I,
it's interesting too of just like being sick. It sounds like what I'm hearing you say is like being sick helped you in one way. It benefited me. It was like pausing and then
yeah,
reflecting of like where do I want this next chapter to go? Right.
yeah.
That's like the maybe like a silver lining sometimes
Mhm.
of getting sick or something. A major life event or a major trauma sometimes does make us pump the brakes and say what is important to me.
Yeah.
What are my values? Do I even know what's important to me now? Like what was important to me 10 years ago might not be important to me now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that grind that so many people just go, 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 work, 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 work. We don't allow ourselves that space to like pause, breathe, think, reflect. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden people come to come to like later in life, like, well, what have I done for the last 30 years? Like, what's important to me? And a lot of the work that I do is I'm learning from my own clients, right? My last
Mhm.
session before we hopped on today was a 20-year-old college student who was talking about her relationship with her father, who was like a workaholic,
Mm.
her whole life, and how she wants to get to know him now as a 20-year-old. And so
Wow.
when I think about those things, I learned from my clients to say, like, hey, adults, or hey, corporate America, or companies we work with, like, our employees, do they know what they value as individuals? What's the
Yeah.
company value? And like, are we setting them up for success, not just in work, but like outside of work? Because we need to have that balance. And I always say I don't really believe in work-life balance. I think it's kind of a crock, honestly, because I just don't know what that looks like, and if that,
Right.
and I don't think it's one size fits all. Right. I think
Mhm.
you have to say what it works for you and when do you feel your best. Right.
Right.
I'm very fortunate. I love my jobs. probably because a lot of them I've created. I work for myself, which is
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
But it's different. I love my job. Some people say I don't want to work that much. I'm like, I love, like, this does make me feel good. But
Right.
the minute I start feeling, exhausted or burnt, I know myself. I've done my own work. So I pump the brakes. I need a
Right.
vacation. I need to go home early, and like giving myself that permission. But not
Mhm.
everybody allows themselves that time to reflect and get to know themselves.
For sure. I don't think a lot of people know what that work-life balance is. Like,
Yep.
you could work 80 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
and feel very fulfilled and balanced in that. You could work 20 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
feel that. I mean, I think every person has a different boundary. And
Yes.
and, and when you're saying like, getting sick for me, like
Mm-hmm.
really opened my eyes. It did. It
Yep.
wasn't just like, well, yeah, values was a huge one, and as I
Yeah.
work through with, like, a counselor,
Yeah.
she keeps asking me, like, "What are your values?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I don't know." Like, I
Yeah.
really don't know, and as, her and I work together, I'm starting to develop it more, and it's like before, I feel like I was such a not a people pleaser because 'cause I've
Mm-hmm.
always been kinda just, like, just me,
Yeah.
just I sometimes I'm offensive, whatever.
Yeah.
But,
Love it.
yeah, but, like, I don't know, I really did wanna feel accepted, like,
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking, I would go into a crowd and I would be maybe not well tolerated, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'd get along really well with
Yeah.
everybody, and that would be fine, um, and so it'd be like, "Hey, let's go for drinks after work, let's go for dinner, you wanna hang out?" And it was, like, constantly filling
Yep.
my circle with
Yep.
people, and it's like, at the end of the day, like, I ended up getting sick, and I didn't hear from a single one of those
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
And so that really makes
Mm-hmm.
you reevaluate
Yes.
values
Mm-hmm.
because it was like, why did I waste so much time? Like time I could have spent with my children, time I could have spent
Yes.
with my husband, time I
Yeah.
could have spent on me,
Mm-hmm.
working out, meal prepping,
Mm-hmm.
seeing friends, seeing
Yep. Yep.
whatever it is. Why did I spend so much time trying to be liked by
Mm-hmm.
people that I worked with when honestly I don't even care?
Mm-hmm. No,
So
but
that's an eye opener in that
yeah,
value
absolutely.
space.
Right. Again, and saying like, now moving this next shift, like who do I want to fill it with? Like, is
Hmm.
it quality over quantity, right? Like
Yes.
maybe my circle's a lot smaller, but I know they're
Yeah.
my people,
Hmm.
right? Or I can spend more time with them to develop even tighter bonds, closer bonds, and get to know them and be more vulnerable, and they can be more vulnerable with me. I think
Yeah.
that's a big thing about relationships too, is like, are they just like the happy hour friends, or are they like the
Hmm.
deep connections? Like we know that those
Right.
deep connections, those deep social connections help us work through stress. Help,
Yeah,
stress
they
makes
do.
us social, and so we want to be able to be social with people who have our back, people we can feel real and deep with.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, I find like they've never been deep with anyone, they've never had that
Right.
experience, and that's why I love being a therapist, is creating that space. Like talk to me about you. Like let me have you get an hour just to talk about yourself, and I can ask you these probing questions and make connections for you. I always say I feel like a detective, being like, okay, have you ever thought about this is connected to this? Oh, it's kind of
Mhm.
fun. But again, it's people. I always say everybody should be in therapy, right? I think everybody needs. I would in my perfect world, is you go for a yearly well visit at your primary care doctor. I
Right.
think everybody should do a well visit
Totally.
with a therapist, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just time to like think about yourself and say like, how
Mhm.
am I feeling? Am I dealing with my emotions? Am I dealing with my stressors? Can I intervene earlier? So it doesn't have to become depression or anxiety or substance
Yeah.
abuse problem or just being miserable, right? Like,
Yeah.
what can I do sooner? And just learning how to talk about themselves in a deeper, more meaningful way. That meaning and purpose is a huge piece of our happiness. If you don't
Mhm.
have that, it's hard to be happy. It's hard to feel fulfilled if you're not leading a life of meaning and purpose. And going
Mhm.
back to your thing about values, right? People are like, what's a value? It's like, okay, but when you have your values and you don't live in alignment, right, you don't feel good. But when you can
No.
identify the values and say, am I working towards alignment? You're going to feel more at peace. And like that inner peace is such a big part of healing. If it's psychological, if it's mental, if it's physical health too, right? The mind body connection. I'm sure you're going through what you're going through. You get that. Like it's
Yes.
not, you don't chop up your head and have your head in your body. It all goes together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We actually talked about this on the last episode. He was a motivational speaker who had
Mm-hmm.
gone through a lot of stuff, and he was saying, like, when he was going through cancer,
Mm-hmm.
it was him there laughing, making jokes,
Mm-hmm.
smiling, and it's like the people who have this sort of attitude, and again, not through cancer, through any
Mm-hmm.
hardship really, um, tend to kind of make their way through it at least a little bit better
Hmm.
than someone who's doom and gloom all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you really feel like you're the victim, then you're
Yep.
going to be the
Get that.
victim.
Yep.
If you have that positivity
Yeah.
to it, I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna, I mean, not, don't get me wrong, cancer was tough.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, treatment was tough. I hated it. I hate, like,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of trauma wrapped around it. Like, why
Yeah.
did I
Yeah.
have to go through that? But it's like, I also look at it, I like to reframe a lot. I
Good.
get to do a podcast now with the experience to talk about
Yeah.
it. I get to help people who ask questions
Right.
about it. A
Hmm.
lot of people come to me and ask, you know, what can I do to
Yep.
help boost my health and things
Yep.
like that. And I love that. And if there's one positive to having a trauma,
Yeah.
it's that somebody else can learn from it.
Yeah.
So,
It's like what we call like post traumatic growth. Like traumas
yes.
happen. Like we're all gonna live
Yeah.
through trauma, right?
Yep.
Like bad things happen to all of us, big
Mhm.
T's, little T's, whatever you want to call them. But it's
Mhm.
like what you do with it next, right? And so
Yeah.
you can take trauma and say, I want to grow from this, right? I want to make like how like grow in some sort of way versus
Mhm.
this trauma happened to me and now forget it. I'm the victim, kind of like what you're saying. Or we say, okay,
Yeah.
I don't like what do we do with it? Like how do we become a better person and help others through our experiences? Those types of things. So it's you're a living example of post traumatic growth, right? Going through cancer, going through treatment, helping others, right? Talking, sharing, helping them live their best life. And as a helper, if it's me as a therapist or a consultant, you as a podcast host, when you are sharing, talking, it also holds you accountable too. I feel like, right? And so I'm
Right.
sure
Yeah.
you talking about this stuff helping Bill maybe helps you make some good choices to take care of yourself in the process too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like when I got off the podcast last week with
Hmm.
this guy and I was like, "Man, I am so motivated to
Yeah.
go for a jog, like
Yeah. Yeah.
throw out all the junk food in my house."
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
you know, because just hearing somebody else talk about it, yeah, it's like you said, there's healing through storytelling.
Yeah.
And, you know, human nature is to like really be fascinated with other people's trauma.
Hmm.
I hate to say it, but
Yep.
like, I mean, I like when someone goes through trauma, makes them sort of a real person, but they can come out of it a changed person,
Yes.
right? They can come out of it if feeling like they've overcome. I mean, that's
Hmm.
huge growth, right? And that's so
Yep.
motivating, right? You
Hmm.
look at anyone you look up to, you know, let's say it's I don't know, someone who's lost a whole ton of weight or
Yep.
whatever. I mean, that is inspiring and it is
Hmm.
motivating. And it's like we followed them because they were whatever, morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Like I'm just thinking of like TV shows or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and then it's like you watch them struggle
Hmm.
through it. And as humans, we love that. It's
Yeah.
weird,
Yep.
but we love
Hmm.
that. And then,
Yep.
you know, they get to the end and they've got their goal and we're like so proud of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully at the end of my life, I can look back and say like, you know, I helped some people
Yep.
in my time on earth. And,
Hmm.
you know, that I think that's why people like us do what
Right.
we do,
Do the
right? I
work
mean,
you love to do.
especially people like you
Yeah,
who
no,
do
totally.
what you
But
do.
helping people in different ways. There's all different
Yeah.
ways to be helpers, and there is, helping
Yes.
others helps. We do it to help others, but also gives us some feel good stuff. That's honest.
Hmm.
And going back to what you were talking about, kind of like the reframing. I love it. That's such a therapeutic term, right? The reframe, and
Hmm.
I always say like look for the glimmers, right?
Yeah.
Like even in like the darkest of days, can you find little glimmers, little pieces of the in a moment that could give you a little bit of hope. And if you, as long as we can
Yeah.
find a little bit of hope, we can get there, right? But it's
Hmm.
helping people find a little bit of hope or those glimmers. And the way that we think, right? We know our thoughts are so powerful, right? And so if you
Hmm.
wake up and your automatic thoughts are all negative, right? Your thoughts for the day are so negative, it's going to be a dark, dreary day. But you can start just by
Hmm.
working on acknowledging the thoughts that you're having, and then being curious about where they're coming from. Is this
Yeah.
thought helpful? Do I even need this thought? And then
Right.
kind of change the thought type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
So your thoughts control your emotions control your actions. So just really thinking about, that inner narrative, that inner dialogue, and say like, how do you speak to yourself? Are you super hard on yourself? Is your inner critic so loud and so nasty, and
Hmm.
it's not making you, make good choices? I mean, I always think about you talk about like, someone losing weight. If you're never going to lose weight if you are beating yourself up, right? If you're constantly saying you're a
Yes.
piece of garbage, you don't deserve anything, nobody likes you, that's not going to make me feel motivated to go on
Yeah.
a walk or choose a choice A over choice B of food, right? We
Hmm.
make better choices to take care of our health, our physical health, our mental health by being kind to ourselves. right? And so
Yes.
really focusing on like, how do I speak to myself? We spend the most times with ourselves. So
Hmm.
why am I speaking to myself this way? I've never speak to my friend, my best friend, even my
Right.
worst enemy. I might not speak
Yes.
that way. Right. So
Yeah.
the power of your thinking, and that's even like my wellness clothing company, Buffalo Believes, like the beliefs. Like, why did I call it that? Exactly what
Hmm.
I'm saying, because what you believe, what you tell yourself you believe,
Hmm.
and what you believe, you create your life around it. Right. And
Yes.
so if you believe that you are worth the effort, if you believe that you have, there's hope out there for you, you will make choices to like live in that way.
Yeah.
I also, I don't know if you've ever watched Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Buffalo Believes is a little bit of a play off of
Oh,
his
okay.
belief too, because I love him. I love
That's a great show.
as an athlete, and all the messaging behind that. So a little bit is tied into that as well.
I love it. That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know, like, just listening to you talk, it is hitting me, like, right in here.
Oh,
Because even though
good.
I've come so far, I've
Right.
changed myself in
Mm-hmm.
so many ways over the past few years, but, like, for a lot of years, all I did was talk bad about my body. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my friend and
Yeah.
I would always joke and say, like, "Ugh, I'm a piece of garbage." Like, that's
Yeah.
what we always say, and we would
Yep.
say it as a joke, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, there's obviously some truth to
Yeah.
that we're thinking that,
Yeah.
it's like as we would watch ourselves, like, not go to the gym, not eat
Yep.
well,
Yep.
whatever, spend a weekend binge
Yeah.
drinking,
Yeah.
whatever, be like, "Oh god, I'm a piece of garbage."
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe at the time I thought it wasn't legit, but now I'm like, "Why did you do that to your
Mhm.
body?"
Yeah. But it's
And
also like your brain doesn't know, like, oh, I'm
yeah,
just
the difference.
joking. Like it doesn't
Right.
make a difference. And you're just being nasty to yourself and
Yeah.
nasty to you, the one body that you have, right? No matter
Yeah,
what happens, you have one vessel to carry you throughout your life. And so
for
how we
sure.
speak of it matters, right? What
Yeah.
what's the research say? If you talk nicely to plants, they grow
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
Right. So if a plant is going to grow, and I do not have a green thumb for the record, but
Yeah, right.
if you're nice to a plant, it grows better. Imagine if you spoke kindly to yourself.
Yeah,
Right? If it's just neutral. Even if I always say you
totally.
don't go from like body hatred to body positivity. There's a whole
No,
spectrum
for sure.
that in between. But if I could
Mhm.
just be a little bit nicer to myself, right?
Yes.
And maybe instead of saying, "Oh, you're a piece of garbage," or "You look fat in that," or you're unlovable because you gained weight," or whatever it is. If you could just
Mhm.
like time out, like let's just be neutral. Let's not say anything about my body. Can I look in the
Yeah.
mirror, like not say anything positive or negative? Just okay, like I don't have food on my face. Okay, I can leave the house. Right.
Mhm.
Versus saying like, ooh, how like am I good enough? Is my worth tied into my body image? And like just to be a
Yeah.
little bit more neutral and hopefully get to something more positive.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm trying to do,
Mhm.
even though I've honestly quite, like, been a little bit hard on my body even the last year,
Mhm.
probably because, like, I gained so much weight, I lost my
Mhm.
hair, I lost a
Yep.
boob, but it was
Yep.
like, I don't know, like, I'm also trying to remember, like, hey, my body withstood through
Yeah.
all of that really hard stuff.
Oh, it's a rock star, right?
Yeah.
It's so
So
strong and powerful.
yeah.
Like,
And then I'm like, you could probably give it a little bit of grace.
yeah, yeah.
You could probably just be thankful that your body, it might look different than it used
Mhm.
to, that's for
Yeah.
sure, but, like, it's still standing. Not a lot
Yep.
of people get to say that.
Yep.
So,
That's true.
um,
Your mother,
so
right? You're a
yeah, I'm a
mother,
mother, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you carried your children, you birth children, carry
Yeah.
children. Assuming, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to make assumption of your story, but like
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
right? 38 years, how old you are, like you're 30 something years you've been on this earth, taking care of yourself, birthing children, going through
Yeah.
cancer treatment. Like, yeah, your body's pretty resilient, and like give it credit,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like, hello, but like
Yeah.
it's pretty darn amazing.
Yeah, it is. I think there's just, like, so much pressure put on by, society, social
Ugh,
media, all the things to just be
yeah.
perfect,
Yep.
that you forget how great,
Yeah.
like, your body really is. I mean, that being said, I definitely think we should take care of it because it's
Oh,
obviously gonna work a heck of a
yeah.
lot better when you're
Yes.
not, morbidly obese, and you're
Yes.
not,
Mm-hmm.
drinking every day and
Yep.
all the things.
Yep.
Like, you should take care of it,
Mhm.
absolutely, but I mean, I think we also need to give ourselves a little bit of
Right.
grace. So
Yep.
be gracious to ourselves because,
Yeah.
we all really do go through some stuff.
Of course. And it's, progress over perfection, right? It's not
Mhm.
being perfect with caring for your body, like only eating X, Y, and Z and only doing like, no, like you got to live your life too, right? There's got to be
Mhm.
times where you might go out and have some cocktails or you
Yeah, of course.
overindulge in a few extra pieces of cake, whatever. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's finding, being human and going through it all. And just, again, I think it's that being kind, a little
Mhm.
bit nicer to yourself and the way you speak to yourself about your body. Because as you mentioned, though, in this day and age, there's so many messages coming at all of us, men, women, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, whatever, that there's these messages that we're supposed to change. Right.
Yeah.
We have, like, we're not good enough. Like,
You're not gonna, yeah.
you need to look younger, you need to be thinner, you need to be
Mhm.
smarter, you need to be more successful, you need a better. And that leaves most of us feeling insecure, most of us feeling less
Mhm.
than. And if only I achieve X, Y, and Z, I'll be happy. But we know that that happiness doesn't come from a smaller body, a bigger house,
It's not
better
true.
skin,
Yeah,
right?
really.
But that's what we're sold. Like, get rid of your wrinkles, you'll be happier.
Mhm.
I work with clients with eating disorders. And so, I hear it every single day. I thought if I just got to this weight, I would
Yeah.
be happy. I'm actually more miserable. I'm like, yes, because your happiness and light and your purpose and meaning and fulfillment doesn't come from the size of your body.
Right.
That's the myth we're told. And, to your point, Becky, again, I don't, we don't, I'm not saying don't take care of your body. No, how you fuel your body matters, right?
Yeah.
How you move your body matters. How much rest you're giving your body matters. 100%. Those are all super, super important
Mhm.
things about being
Yeah.
well. But body shape and size isn't the golden ticket to
Right.
health. Body shape and size isn't the golden ticket to
Right.
happiness either. There's so many
Yeah.
more things that go into it.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I look back at times when I was quite thin or
Hmm.
fit or whatever, and
Yeah.
I don't know, I would want to even go back to that
Right.
space.
Hmm.
And not that I didn't love my body at the time. Actually, I probably didn't love it at the
Hmm.
time. Like,
Well,
let's be
that's
honest.
it. But that's
Um,
exact right.
but like I don't know that I was necessarily happier. So it's like once I kind of got my values more lined up,
Yes.
my
Yes.
priorities, the
Yes.
people I loved,
Yes.
were my priority now
Hmm.
instead of just people pleasing and needing to
Yep.
look good, whatever all the time. That's when things started to fit better
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
It wasn't like, okay, I need to stay skinny. I need to watch everything that I eat. I need to be at the gym every day just so
Yep.
that I can look pretty and look good on
Hmm.
Tinder for boys
Yep.
to just swipe right on me,
Yep.
like,
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
It's
it's
so
so
it's so
true.
it's so true. And, like, again, like I always tell my clients too, like, once you get this working out, whatever the thoughts, emotions, feelings in your head, your sense of self and belonging, the
Mhm.
weight stuff will take care of itself. Right.
Mhm.
This We have to take the focus off of the scale and focus on exactly those values. Am I living a life that's in alignment? Am I doing things to take care of myself? How am I talking to
Right.
myself? How am I coping with my emotions? And the other stuff will fall into place. Right. But again, I think we have it backwards. Like, let me look a certain way and then I'll be happy. I'm like, no, no, no. Let's
Mhm.
work on finding what drives you, what motivates you, what inspires you.
I
That's the other thing as
really,
well.
really wish, and I'm not in any way trying to get political. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
demonize any population, anything.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it very vague, but I do really wish that that would be what you're saying would be
Mhm.
how a lot of people approach mental health right
Yeah.
now, that it doesn't matter what your body is right now,
Mhm.
that if you don't deal with what the issues are, you're not going to be happy. It doesn't matter how
No.
much you change your body. And I
Yep.
mean, in 2025, we are seeing this huge, a
Mhm.
lot of body changes these
Yeah.
days. But
Mhm.
it's like, if you speak to a lot of people who've gone through major transformation,
Yeah.
they still say, there's still some stuff I'm dealing with, or I'm
Of
not happy. It's
course.
not what I thought it
Yeah.
was going to be. And because at the
Yep.
end of the day, if you don't deal with that root cause, or at least like let it go,
Mhm.
forgive and move on,
Yep.
make an active choice to leave it in the past, then you're
Mhm.
literally going to hold on to it forever.
100%. I see it, it's with any sort of recovery, unless you do the deeper work to figure out
Hmm.
what got you there, it's going to resurface another way. I see, clients all the time who they get into, like, recovery of an eating disorder, so in a
Yeah.
better place physically, whatever, but they don't do the real work. They end up with a substance abuse problem. And
Yeah.
then, okay, maybe they stop drinking, and then it becomes a shopping thing, right? And
I
so
know people like this.
right. And
Yes.
so when we keep always looking to kind of plug the hole, if it's food, if it's shopping, if it's sex, if it's whatever, but what's it all about? We have to go
Mhm.
deeper to get to the root, kind of like you said, that root. Like, where
Mhm.
are you feeling not good enough? Where are you feeling like you don't have a sense of self or a sense of belonging? Like, we can come to the deeper stuff, which is often childhood trauma, if I'm being
Mhm.
completely
Mhm.
transparent. And we all have it, right? And we
Yes.
live in a world that, we get a lot of messages, even without trying, about we're not good enough, we don't have value, whatever that is.
Mhm.
But until you get to the root of it, it's just going to keep resurfacing. And I think,
Yeah.
there's obviously a ton of strength in people who deal with the stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
we could just put band-aids on everything, but until we kind of figure out how did I get that wound? Like, where did the wound come from?
Right.
It's just going to keep moving around. It's just going to become another wound. And so we got to get to the wound or like the trauma to heal that. And
Yes.
then everything else will fall into play. I think will more likely to fall.
I
It's a lot of
agree.
work. I'm not suggesting
Oh
that
yeah.
healing is easy, right?
No, it's not easy at all. And I think people shy away from it because the second they enter this uncomfortable
Oh
zone,
yeah,
then it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
panic. Absolutely
yeah.
not. It's like that vulnerable
Yep.
child is back. And so, like I said, I've been seeing counselors
Yeah.
just post cancer. There's a
Hmm.
lot of post-traumatic stress
Yeah.
that
Oh my
comes with,
gosh. A
you're
physical.
being
Yeah.
being faced with your own mortality, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been dealing with, I was doing two. One was from insurance and one
Hmm.
was from the cancer center.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
was seeing both. It was like
Hmm.
double duty. It was a
Yeah.
lot of
Hmm.
counseling. And I honestly feel like I got worse before I got
Yeah.
better. There
Yep.
was a very low and dark time just this past fall. We didn't record in that time because I was so low. I was unmotivated.
Hmm.
I started having panic attacks.
Hmm.
I was accusing my husband of having affairs nonstop. But all it was me uncovering things from
Yep.
my past that
Hmm.
had been buried. I was
Yep.
married once before and it
Hmm.
was a pretty toxic marriage. There
Yep.
was infidelity and drugs
Hmm.
and emotional abuse and all
Yep.
this kind of stuff in it, and I had buried it and I was like,
Yep.
no, I'm totally fine. And then I
Yep.
got married again and I'm totally fine. And it's like as I dealt with it, here it's
Hmm.
out again and I'm having full on panic
Yep.
attacks to the
Yep.
point where I thought I was having to go to the hospital
Hmm.
or was going to need to call an ambulance
Yep.
because what is happening? I'd never had panic attacks ever
Yep.
before. I had no idea what was happening and
Hmm.
I'm yelling and I'm crying and I'm freaking out. My heart's pounding through my chest and I'm like, what is happening? And so
Yep.
then I was like, I don't want to do counseling. I don't want to
Yep.
keep going through this. And then
Hmm.
like honestly, as quickly as it came on, it kind of just stopped. I like hit this
Wow.
really hard hump and then it
Hmm.
just stopped.
Yep.
And
Yep.
all of a sudden, like I'm secure
Yeah.
again
Yeah.
and I'm confident in my husband
Yep.
and I
Yep.
feel really good. And my heart's not, I haven't had a panic attack in months now.
Hmm.
And but it was like, man, if that is what counseling did,
Yeah.
like no wonder people,
Hmm.
I'm always striving for like wellness, like get
Yeah.
better 100%,
Yeah.
like you need
Yep.
to dive into it. But like other people who maybe aren't as ambitious,
Hmm.
I think would get to a glimpse of that and
Yep.
freak out and
Yep.
go, absolutely not. I'm not
Yep.
getting involved in that.
Yep. Well, it's funny because what you're saying, right? So I think you got like you released, right? Those panic attacks were
Yeah.
almost like a release of probably old stuff that was just buried
Yeah.
inside of you,
Yeah.
and like you got over the hump, so you released it, and then it was
Yeah.
better, right? But you
Yeah.
have to get to that very very uncomfortable and that ugly place to release
Hmm.
whatever's stuck inside of you.
Yeah.
And you're 100%. People don't want to be uncomfortable, right? Our brains
No,
don't want to be uncomfortable,
exactly.
which I get, but you didn't have to. Like you could have quit therapy earlier, right? But
Hmm.
that you would
Hmm.
still be carrying around that trauma. That would still be kind of bubbling on the surface, right? So it might have not been full blown panic attacks. It still might have just been a little bit of anxious attachment or avoidance or whatever,
Yeah.
but still going to show up, but not in such a major way. So kudos to you for sitting through it and pushing through the discomfort and then be able to speak about it on the other side to say,
Yeah.
oh, but then I was like, then I was secure again. Then I was okay again. Like,
Yeah.
because you released whatever you were that was stuck inside of you. And
Yeah.
it's still learning how to be uncomfortable. I mean, again, nobody likes it, but like it's part of being human. And often from that discomfort comes like a beautiful, beautiful growth,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
everything's hard. That's I always use the example like if you know how to ride a bike. The first time you rode a bike, you weren't like, woohoo, I'm on my two-wheeler going down the street. Hey mom, hey dad. Like no,
Yeah.
like you get on, you fall off, you scrape
Yeah.
your knee, you cry, like it
Hmm.
sucks, right? And then
Hmm.
it gets easier. Like
Hmm.
anything worth it is hard in the beginning.
Totally.
And it's learning how to like let suck. I would say sit in the suck. Like sit in the suck because it's gonna suck,
Yeah.
right? Treatment,
Yeah.
getting cancer diagnosis sucks. And
Oh,
like,
it
what are you
sucks.
gonna do?
Yeah.
What you
Yeah,
it's like stuff
literally.
is gonna happen because we're human. So sit in
Yeah.
it, and then okay, now what do I do? Get my supports, get my plan, and try to work
Yeah.
through it. And
Well,
therapy can help. It's I also think about an ocean floor. Right, so you
mhm.
take an ocean, the ocean floor, and you take like a rake, and you like scrape up the bottom of the ocean
Yeah.
floor. What happens? All that stuff comes up.
Dusty,
It's all
or
dust and cloudy, and then it
yeah, cloudy.
resettles. Exactly what happened with you, right? You
Mhm.
therapy brought up all this old stuff from your first marriage that maybe you
Mhm.
thought was fine. It's fine. It's
I totally
fine.
thought it was fine. It
Right?
was
Like
not
it's
fine.
fine. But it wasn't. It was still there. It was still And so now it's all
Yes.
resettled, and it sounds like you're in a better place, which,
Yeah.
again, well, like when we talk about being brave, we talk about strong, resilient bodies, not,
Hmm.
not just physical. Think about your brain, like strong, resilient mind and soul that you
Hmm.
have to work through all of that, because you
Hmm.
could have bailed. You could have like,
Right.
no, I'm out, folks.
I thought about it.
Right. I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. But you came back. You went back the next week.
I
Right. And
did.
you kept doing it. So well done.
Part of it was that it was mandated by my insurance, so I
Okay.
had to do it, but it
Okay.
was like, I would be there and I would cry and it would be awful
Hmm.
in that moment, and then as soon as it was done, man, it was like a weight was lifted.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, like to sit in the suck, like
Yeah.
to liken it to cancer,
Yeah.
that first round of chemo was awful.
Yep.
Awful, awful. I had no idea what I was expecting. I had
Yep.
every side effect. I was horrible.
Yep.
I said to my husband, "I'm not doing this. I'm done." And
Hmm.
he's like, "So then what? Are you going to
Right.
die?"
Right.
I was like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Yes, I am,
Oh,
because
well, I
I'm
got
not going
that.
through this.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And then, I dealt with my doctor. She
Hmm.
lessened the dose a little bit
Good.
within an acceptable range. The next 5 treatments were, I mean, still hard, but a heck of a lot easier.
Yep.
And so I dreaded it every
Yep.
3 weeks. I dreaded
Hmm.
it, but then it would come and go, and then it was okay. And
Yeah.
then, so if you take that into like, how I was living emotionally,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
like I had buried everything, probably to the point where my body was like, we can't hold on to any
Yeah.
more stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I don't know what the cause of cancer
Yeah.
is. I have to think maybe partly is like unresolved
Yeah.
traumas, because there was no genetics, there was no
Yep.
hormones, there was nothing in
Yep.
my life that could have possibly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so, it was like, if I didn't work through my
Yep.
traumas with counseling, it was killing me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like the same, like
Yeah.
cancer and trauma. Yeah, they're
Yep.
totally different. Yeah, they're so similar. If you don't deal with whatever it is,
Yep.
the root of it,
Hmm. It's
it's
gonna
going to
keep coming up.
eventually
Yeah.
kill your brain, kill your
Yeah.
heart, kill your spirit. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I felt. So I mean, once I got through that counseling, I still want to see counselors, right?
Hmm.
Like, I still want to deal with stuff. It's not just
Hmm.
over,
Right.
but it's like I just feel like I got over that hump.
Good. No, and again,
Yeah.
I always say to my clients, like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, we're in therapy now. If you take a break, you want to come back on,
Yeah.
like, this is, it's an ongoing resource and
Yeah.
level of support.
Hmm.
But it's interesting you talk about too, like, again, I'm not a scientist, like, where does cancer come from? But is there a
Right.
connection to trauma? I mean, I think probably
Totally.
we know that trauma changes our DNA. We know that trauma
Yeah.
changes our bodies, our nervous system, like
Mhm.
all of that stuff. There's a lot of research, right? People talking a lot right now about like women and autoimmune disorders. Why do so
Right.
many women have autoimmune disorders versus men? Is that the stress that women have that's different than men, their own life experiences? Again,
Yeah.
so there's some research out there that's doing a lot of trauma research and the effects on the body and sickness, right? But if we can work through
Yeah.
trauma earlier, can we avoid some illness?
And
And
I
I think,
wonder
yeah.
too, like putting that into perspective, like with women, we don't let things go really easily. Like, I still think about girls that scorned me in high
Yeah.
school. I've been out of high school 21 years.
Yeah.
Like, I still think about them. But like
Hmm.
men get angry. They
Yep.
let everyone
Yep.
know that they're angry. And then I don't know, do they even think about it ever again? Maybe
Right.
not.
Right.
So it's
But
like,
even that, we
because we're holding on to it.
right, because well, what are the gender stereotypes or gender rules of like men can get angry and let it out, where girls,
Yes.
oh, just be nice, oh, be a nice girl,
Be a
keep it
nice
simple,
girl.
don't make
That's
don't
right.
make waves, rise above it, right? And so then how
And then
many
we're just
girls are
packing it
there?
in.
Yes, yes. How many
Yes.
girls are burying that,
Mhm.
whatever, and that right affects our health, our mental health, and our physical
Literally.
health.
Literally.
There's research out there with girls and their brains and estrogen levels going through puberty, that
Mhm.
during puberty years, a lot of the stressors girls have experienced in their early childhood before puberty comes out during puberty,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what I'm saying. Why are we seeing all these teenage girls anxious or depressed? Like, why is this
Mhm.
happening? And the research is telling us it's because it's traumas from birth or age, whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is now showing up. It has to do with like
Wow.
gene exposure and levels of
Crazy.
estrogen. And by no means am I a researcher, but I do
Mhm.
read a ton because I want to understand
Yeah.
more. And so again, like it's the body, like our bodies are pretty cool, but they also they're trying to protect us. Like our bodies will do
Yes.
everything it can to survive, which is pretty cool too. But again, that trauma in bodies, trauma in soul, trauma in mind, I think we have to just kind of open up these conversations more and more, say like, hey, we're all going through it, so like let's talk
Mhm.
about it. Let's support each other. Let's dig in. Let's really heal instead of just pretending everything is perfect. Everything is beautiful, right? That beautiful
Right.
home, the beautiful body, beautiful
Mhm.
face, sort of like that doesn't mean anything, right? Until we're like
Yeah.
dealing with the inner stuff, like the real stuff, right? And helping
Mhm.
people be their true selves, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, whatever that means. But just having them be their true self, feel safe, feel like they belong.
Yeah.
All of that is a huge piece of healing. And why don't we help? I love the idea of healing earlier, right? Instead, can we prevent mental health? Can we prevent some physical health stuff? But we allow people the space to heal and just learn about the mind body connection.
Mhm. Yeah, like, I'm just thinking I have a 14-year-old daughter and I have a 12-year-old
Yep.
daughter, and I have one who, like, you know when she's angry because
Yep.
she seems to be angry all the time at
Mm-hmm.
everybody, and yet she's so much more, like, well-adjusted
Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
she's letting it out, and then I have one who holds it in and doesn't like to rock the
Yeah.
boat,
Yep.
and, she's going through a heck of a lot more. Even, like, I
Mm-hmm.
will go to say physiologically,
Yep.
she is going through a heck of a lot more. Her
Mm-hmm.
body looks entirely different than her
Yep.
sister. Her skin looks entirely
Mm-hmm.
different than her sister. Her grades are entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know. Again, I also am not a researcher,
Right.
but like maybe there is that
Something
connection that
is.
as we repress and hold
Yep.
on to things and don't want to rock the
Yes.
boat and we
Yep.
compromise our boundaries and our
Yes.
values
Values. Yes.
compared to
Mm-hmm.
someone who's like, I don't care who I piss off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I'm going to say what I need
Mm-hmm.
to say and
Yep.
deal with it. I don't know,
Yep.
maybe there's something to it. I am definitely more like my other child.
Okay.
Like I like
Yep.
to hold it in
Yeah.
and not I don't
Yep.
want to hurt anybody's feelings and I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to like express
Yep.
what bothers me because then people think I'm a crazy girl.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
like then you
I
hold it
know. I think all the times, like I didn't think. I grew up in a home where conflict. We never had conflict. Never,
in.
never,
Mhm.
never, never. So I grew up thinking if I had conflict with a friend, the friendship would be over. If I had conflict with a boyfriend, the relationship would be over. And so,
Yeah.
how many relationships did I stay way too long? If it was a
Yeah.
friendship or romantic relationship because I was afraid to speak up. It took
Yeah.
me years of working on myself to say, wait a second, I'm allowed to say that upset me, right?
Mhm.
Like that doesn't feel good to me. Like I don't like how that feels, or that to get to find my voice because I grew up thinking, oh, no conflict. You talk about being a people pleaser, very similar. Like just like
Yeah.
no, no, no. Like you don't get to have an opinion, right? And don't you dare say you want more. Don't you dare say something is not okay.
Yeah.
Like you just have to, and that I think it does. Like that changes our physiological our bodies, our psychological, our minds, our souls. And so
Mhm.
I think teaching young people, I can speak for boys and girls, but especially young girls, to say like it's okay to express your emotions. And same thing with boys. Like I work with teenage boys all the time, and like just teaching them what an emotion is.
Mhm.
Was working yesterday with a middle school basketball team. So seventh and eighth grade
Mhm.
boys.
I get
Goodness
it.
gracious. And like we did a whole exercise like what are emotions, like what and how does this make you feel, and they're like, oh. And the thing is, they said, can you come back next week? We want to keep doing this.
Wow.
And so when you have 12 and 13-year-old boys wanting to talk to a therapist about emotions and they're
Mhm.
asking for more of it, they just want those safe spaces. We just don't always provide those for young people.
Right.
Right. And so I guess I think for boys it's important, but I also think it's so important for girls to learn that
Yeah.
they have a voice and learn to
Yeah.
be assertive. Like being
Yeah.
assertive doesn't mean you're aggressive or you're sorry, Tilly, my dog is barking,
It's okay.
a jerk, right? It just means you're learning to stand up for yourself. You're learning to have a voice and have self-respect.
Yes. I
And
know.
that's
Prior to getting sick, I worked in construction and I
oh
was
wow.
usually the only female in
Mm-hmm.
my role.
Yep.
And so, the guys already look at you differently, like you're
Yeah.
less than.
Yep.
And then, you try to fit in, you're one of the guys. So then, they say things that are like ultra
Oh, yep.
offensive.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
then, and it's like, there's like, oh, you're going to be sexually harassed, but also treated like one of the guys, but also we don't take you seriously. And so I just played along for the longest time because it's like if you are a girl who speaks up, then you're
Yep.
bitch, you're
Exactly.
crazy,
Exactly.
whatever. So I just
Yep.
held it in for the whole
Mm-hmm.
time. But it's like, I don't know, that's not right either. And so like, as I approach 40, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to be the girl who has no boundaries. Like
Yeah.
you can let people know if they've
Yep.
bothered you. Like I had a friend recently, ask me if if I was something wrong with me or whatever. And I was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good because
Yep.
like I didn't want to rock the boat with
Yep.
him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Either
Right.
way, like, yeah, I think there's definitely something to just owning your
Yep.
feelings,
Yep.
being
Oh,
able to talk about your feelings, being
hmm.
able to whatever, release what you're holding
Yep.
on to. So I think that's so cool that you're able to work with teenage boys too,
Yeah.
man, because junior high, something
Oh.
happens in junior high where their brain is a little screwy for
Hmm.
all of them. I have two in junior high, so like,
Yeah.
or middle school or whatever you guys call it down there.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting time in life. And I
For
mean, I
sure.
wasn't that, I'm not that old that I don't remember it. I remember it. I
Yeah.
also feel like I was a little screwy back then.
Yeah.
So
Well, part of that's just the teenage brain, right? The brain is not fully
for sure.
developed until you're
Yeah.
about 25. So we have to
Yes.
remember that our teenagers are not working with a full frontal lobe for
Right.
decision making and impulse control and emotional regulation. So they all think they're crazy. I mean, every team's like, "Oh, am I crazy?" Like, you're not crazy. You're just
Yeah.
going through it, and you have an undeveloped brain. Like, it's going to be
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
right?
You're getting those like glimpse of adulthood without the maturity to understand like how
Yeah,
to deal with it.
or the skills to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Hmm.
I love that you are working with, kids, I mean,
Yeah.
adults alike, but
Hmm.
I guess, now that we're coming to the end of our show,
Yeah.
why don't you tell everybody where they can contact
Yeah.
you? And I mean, you've got a lot of different places, so feel free
Yeah.
to list them all here, and I
Okay.
will put them in the show notes so that people
Awesome.
can
Great. Thank you.
follow you.
Right. So as we know, I wear lots of different hats. But if you're ever interested in connecting about our work with athletes, athletic teams, we work with coaches and teams and parents around mental health and athletics. So,
Amazing.
which is awesome. That's something I'm really passionate about. And that's the book I just wrote. But you can contact me about that at D&G Wellness. So it's www.dgwellnessconsulting.com. D&G Wellness is my consulting company, and that's where I also work with those corporations. So if you're a business owner and want some, virtual in-person trainings, we do travel around to work with different
Amazing.
corporations and schools too, right? We do professional development for faculty and staff, trainings for parents. I help schools create wellness curriculums, create programming for them as well. So, D&G Wellness is probably the best place to reach me. We're on social media, so check us out at DG Wellness Consulting.
Mhm.
If you're interested in clothing and mental health, check out Buffalo Believes. Www.buffalobelieves.com or at Buffalo Believes on social media as well. But all that information will come directly to me. So if I can support you as an individual, right? If someone's as an individual looking for support, again, your corporation or school athletic team, please reach out. I can share with you all about all the programs and things that we do. And so again, I think health and wellness, I love it. I can talk about it for days and days. I'm really appreciative of your time and bringing me on. Just kind of like just to have a little chat about being your best self and the challenges of being our best selves. But it's a work. We're all work in progress. So one step in front of the other each day is how I kind of look at it.
I loved it. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for being here.
you're
I honestly,
welcome.
I can't wait to check out all your socials and,
Yeah, please do.
buy some Buffalo
Yeah,
Bills stuff for my dad. And
yes,
yeah, excuse me. Yeah, just however that we can like get your information out to
yeah,
people who may not, obviously not everyone lives in Buffalo,
no,
right? But we are on the other side in
yep.
Edmonton. So like if we
Mhm.
can have people use your services
Mhm.
virtually, that would
Yeah.
be so awesome
Yeah,
too.
we do virtual trainings too, virtual, obviously therapies that can be virtual, or I offer
Mhm.
coaching programs for athletes too. When athletes just need a little bit of help with their mental game, I have
Yeah.
a set of athletic wellness coaches who work for me. And so it's super cool. Like when an athlete doesn't maybe need therapy, they don't need to go maybe digging into their childhood trauma, but they do need help with confidence or
Mhm.
sleep and nutrition
Yeah,
and letting go of mistakes. I have a program that works for athletes that way, which can be done virtually. So that,
amazing.
which is great with the virtual stuff. So
I'm gonna
don't,
send that to my kids' sports teams.
yes, please do,
I love
please
it.
do.
Yeah,
That's
I
really,
will.
yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah, but it's been a pleasure. If I can support you, the work you all are doing, or anyone who's watching today, please don't be a stranger. I'd love to connect.
Awesome. Thank you
So,
so
you're
much.
welcome. Have a great day, and
Y-
hopefully, it will be spring sometime in
Oh
Buffalo and
gosh. Yeah,
spring sometime
hopefully.
where you are too. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see.
right.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Once again, uh, these people are amazing. Like again, I said last time, I don't mean to just like toot my own horn because that's not my intention at all, but like these guests that we have had on are like honestly, I feel like changing my whole outlook on everything. Even for me who raves about the holistic and getting better and this and that, like I still get in ruts all of the time. And so every time I do one of these podcasts, I just feel so motivated to help people, to work on myself, to eat better, to exercise better, whatever it is. So, Danielle, I know you're backstage. You are amazing. I loved chatting with you. I'm really excited to just get to know you and be an acquaintance of yours now. If you are interested in anything that Danielle offers, which is a lot, check her out at dgwellnessconsulting.com, which is just this way down here, and I'm sure you can just reach her there. Even if you're interested in some of her clothing or the yoga or her book or whatever, contact her through her DG Wellness Consulting, and I'm sure you can get a hold of her that way. Check us out next Tuesday when we have another amazing guest, and can't wait to be back, hopefully with Ashley this time. I know her and I are going to do a show. She's going to go into detail about what's going on with her health lately. She's now been out for, I think, 4 shows. So we miss her greatly on this show. But yeah, she wants to have a chat with everybody who listens to us just to let you know where we are at these days. So be back with us then, I guess, and follow us on all our socials, Two Girls Without Cancer.